These are $18, light bread. Get yours, they have them in different colors. We got ours already. In the mid-1990s, Xaiver, also known as X, was the leader, and his brother, Elijah, aka Bobby, and Bobby's son, Mike, were members of a violent narcotics distribution enterprise, the Torres organization. They transported kilogram quantities of crack cocaine from the Bronx to western Pennsylvania. Xaiver typically prepared crack for distribution in the Bronx, and arranged for transportation of crack to western Pennsylvania and elsewhere, while Bobby and Michael handled the actual distribution network in Pennsylvania. After the Torres organization transported the crack to Pennsylvania, its members used local sellers to distribute the drug to customers. When customers or rivals threatened the profitability of their drug business, the Williamses turned to violence to protect the enterprise. The evidence at trial established that Xaiver and Michael conspired, unsuccessfully, to murder two men who threatened the organization in late 1995 and early 1996. Also, to further the goals of the organization, Bobby and Michael committed a triple murder. The Torres organization, as led by Xaiver, Bobby, and Michael, distributed hundreds of kilograms of crack using cars with secret compartments and their network of local dealers. They also laundered some of their illicit proceeds through the purchase of expensive cars and the use of Western Union money transfers. After Bobby and Michael were arrested in 1996 for the triple murder, Xaiver continued to distribute crack in New York and Pennsylvania until his arrest in 2000. Although not many people know him in this era, his name has been out here if you're looking. Before we move on, let's say this. You may have heard of Hassan, Campbell, or Poppy from Bronx River. He sometimes mentions the guys that got busy during his times in the streets. Often he has dropped the name X, Xaiver Williams. He has mentioned Mike or Bobby, not sure which. Also in 2011, Karen Gravano shared her story on season 2 of MTV's Families of the Mafia, which involved opening up about her boyfriend. That boyfriend is X. It was said that the two met at some time in the 90s. In addition, the reality star's father is Sammy the Bull Gravano, former underboss of the Gambino crime family. We mentioned this in our Sex Money Murder story. X was allegedly supposed to finish off Twin, who was shot in at a Thanksgiving football game between Castle Hill and Soundview houses. You can find more out about this in the other story, as we are not covering that here. We gave you all an overview already, so let's get into the specifics of the crimes. Robert James and Timothy Moore were selling drugs in western Pennsylvania in the mid-1990s. At the time, James lived with Angela Hayes Clark, who assisted him in the drug business. In addition to distributing crack, both James and Hayes Clark were daily users of crack. In 1994, Hayes Clark met Bobby, who provided her with a sample of crack and his pager number. Thereafter, Bobby and Michael began to supply Hayes Clark, James, Timothy Moore, and others with crack regularly. Sometimes, Michael would cook cocaine into crack at the residence of James and Hayes Clark. Once supplied with crack, James and the others would distribute it to users in Westmoreland County, approximately 30 minutes away from Pittsburgh. Sometime in late 1995, Michael gave James and Hayes Clark approximately 1 ounce of crack, which they were supposed to sell to a customer. Instead, they smoked the crack and did not pay for it. More generally, James and Timothy Moore were having a dispute with Bobby and Michael over money or drugs in the time period leading up to the triple murder. Christina Emmerich and Daryl Hatfield, who were friends of the victims and also drug users, each heard Michael threaten to kill James if he did not repay the Williamses for the drugs that had been consumed. James and Timothy Moore tried to purchase more crack from the Williamses in order to make a profit to repay their debt. Bobby and Michael's friend, Ray Davis, also knew that the Williamses supplied drugs to Timothy Moore. Davis sensed that there was some sort of problem between Timothy Moore and Bobby prior to the murders. Michael asked Davis if he knew what kind of vehicle Timothy Moore was driving at the time. About 1 to 2 weeks before the triple murder, Davis heard Xaiver tell Bobby and Michael to put some work in, which Davis understood as a direction to kill someone. Shortly before the murders, James told Hayes Clark that Bobby was upset because there was a short on a drug transaction. Either between Bobby and Mike or Timothy Moore, there was a money missing or drugs missing. Both Michael and James then told Hayes Clark about a meeting scheduled for February 18, 1996, the date of the murders. James and Timothy Moore were planning to meet Michael and Bobby in Wilkinsburg, a short distance from the murder scene. Hayes Clark understood that the purpose of the meeting was to settle a drug dispute or to purchase the drugs for Timothy Moore. Hayes Clark spoke with Michael by telephone on February 18, 1996, and took down the location and time of the proposed meeting. That night, Timothy Moore and his 17-year-old cousin, Joel Moore, who was not involved in the drug business at issue, picked up James at around 8 p.m. to attend the planned meeting with Michael and Bobby. At approximately 9:35 p.m., James, Timothy Moore, and Joel Moore were shot to death, execution style, as they sat in Timothy's Ford Bronco, parked on Sperling Street, a residential street in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. The Allegheny County Police Department immediately commenced an investigation, led by Detective Gary Talent. Timothy Moore, who was a very large man, was found in the driver's seat of the Bronco. James was in between the front two seats, and Joel Moore was in the rear passenger area. In James' pocket, detectives found a coin roll with phone numbers associated with Bobby and Michael written on it. The detectives also made a plaster cast of a tire tread impression in the snow in the area, where witnesses had seen a car driving away immediately after the shooting. A total of 11 shell casings and approximately 19 bullets and bullet fragments were found at the scene or inside the victims' bodies. Given the angles of the bullet trajectories in the victims' bodies, the crime scene and autopsy evidence established that the victims had each been shot multiple times, with guns that used 9mm and .38 caliber ammunition, and that were fired into both sides of the Bronco. A ballistics expert determined that 3 different firearms were used to commit the murders. A witness who lived on Sperling Drive saw 2 people standing on either side of the Ford Bronco, shooting into it. After the murders, both Bobby and Michael discussed them with friends and associates. On the night of the murders, Bobby left the apartment he shared with his girlfriend, Carol Johnson, prior to the time of the murders. He was wearing all black clothes. When he returned late that night, he told her that he and Michael had shot 3 people sitting in a car because they owed him money. Michael shot the fat man in the driver's seat, and Bobby shot the 2 passengers, one in the front of the vehicle and one in back. Johnson then helped Bobby get rid of his clothes, in case there was gunpowder on them. She also helped him stash a black Hyundai Sonata, registered to Michael, in her brother's garage. On the night of the triple murder, Michael called Davis and told him to turn on the nightly news, but Davis saw nothing of note on the broadcast. The next day, Bobby came to the apartment on Rippey Street in Pittsburgh, where Ray Davis was staying, which was leased in Bobby's name. Bobby had a newspaper containing a story about the triple murder. That day, Michael, Bobby, and Davis watched a television report about the triple homicide. Later, Michael described the murders to Davis. Michael said that, after giving Timothy Moore an excuse that they were waiting for Michael's girl to come, Michael told Moore, "Well, you waiting, hold this," and Michael shot him in the face. Davis recalled his conversation with Michael as follows. He said he shot him. He said the guy in the front seat, instead of trying to get out, he tried to climb in the back. And he shot him. And the dude that was in the back seat was frozen. And he said, "I got to empty it out," and said Bob emptied out on the other side in the back of the truck. Shortly after the murders, Bobby contacted his friend, Earl Baldwin, and told him that Timothy Moore was killed because the dude owed money. Bobby had introduced Timothy Moore to Baldwin shortly before the murders, telling Baldwin at that time that Moore owed someone a lot of money. When Baldwin ran into Bobby years later in jail, Bobby explained the triple murder to him. "We gave it to them niggers. We walked up to the truck, each of us on a side of the truck, and gave it to them niggers." On February 21, 1996, 3 days after the triple murder, Allegheny County Police detectives obtained search warrants for 3 apartments at 5631 Rippey Street in Pittsburgh, the Rippey Street Apartments. The Rippey Street Apartments were leased to the Williamses in their alias names of Torres, and all 3 Williamses spent time, or lived in the Rippey Street Apartments in the mid-1990s, up until the time of the triple homicide in the Rippey Street apartment, that was leased in Michael's alias, David Michael Torres. The detectives found, among other items, a Jennings Bryco 9mm semi-automatic firearm, a Cobra 9mm semi-automatic firearm, a box of 357mm bullets, approximately $868 in cash, drug paraphernalia, various documents bearing the Williamses' names, and the addresses of each of the apartments that were searched, and documents proving that Michael owned the black Hyundai Sonata hidden in Carol Johnson's brother's garage. The Jennings Bryco firearm was later analyzed, and determined to be one of the 3 murder weapons. In the Rippey Street apartment leased to Xaiver Torres, the detectives seized, among other items, a bulletproof vest, 2 firearm magazines containing 9mm rounds, 45 caliber ammunition, a laser sight for a firearm, approximately 245 grams of crack, digital scales, baggies and related narcotics paraphernalia, and various documents proving that the Williamses resided in the Rippey Street apartments. Bobby's palm print was found on a box of baggies used to serve crack. At the Rippey Street apartment that was leased to Bobby, in his alias, Bobby Torres, the detectives found, among other items, a newspaper, dated February 19, 1996, open to an article about the triple homicide, crack, marijuana, approximately $3,100 in cash, a scale and other narcotics paraphernalia, and various documents connecting Bobby to his Rippey Street apartment. Detectives also searched the apartment that Bobby shared with Johnson. The documents and photographs seized during that search included a copy of the search warrant receipt that the police left at Michael's Rippey Street apartment when they searched it and retrieved the murder weapon. Bobby had shown Johnson the receipt and was angry and nervous that the police had seized the gun. Shortly after the triple murder, the Allegheny County Police Department seized Michael's black Hyundai Sonata from Johnson's brother's garage. Inside the Sonata, which was registered to Michael in his alias, the police found a copy of the lease for Michael's Rippey Street apartment, a document containing Michael's pager number, a newspaper open to an article about the triple homicide, a black face mask, and a secret compartment behind the glove box. The tires on the Sonata were consistent with the tire tread impression found at the crime scene. Michael's girlfriend, Rosie Gonzalez, corroborated the fact that Michael and Bobby were in the Pittsburgh area at the time of the triple murder. On February 18, 1996, Gonzalez flew from Pittsburgh to New York to attend a funeral, leaving Bobby and Michael behind. Michael, however, told Gonzalez that if she were ever questioned by the police, she should falsely say that he attended the funeral with her. Gonzalez did, in fact, lie to the police in 1996, telling them that Michael was at the funeral, and producing false entries in the visitor's book to corroborate the false alibi. Michael and Bobby both fled to New York after the triple homicide. In New York, Michael told another member of the Torres organization, Michael Villafane, that he and Bobby were wanted for shootings in Pittsburgh. Michael was arrested on March 2, 1996. At the time, he tried to give Gonzalez his wallet, which contained identification showing that he lived in the Rippey Street apartment, where the murder weapon was found. After receiving his Miranda warnings, Michael told Allegheny County detectives, among other things, that he owned a Hyundai Sonata, which he had left in Pittsburgh on February 19, 1996. After Michael's arrest, he instructed Gonzalez to give Villafane a gun that Michael had stashed in his closet in New York. Villafane took the gun, a .357 Magnum, and eventually lost it. Bobby was arrested on April 21, 1996, in West Virginia. While he was on the run, he made various false statements to his parole officer, including that, on the night of the murders, he was at home with his girlfriend, Carol. He had leased his Rippey Street apartment to 3 other men. He hadn't seen his brother, Xaiver, in months because Xaiver was in California, and Michael had left Pittsburgh before the murders. Bobby had also asked his girlfriend, Carol Johnson, to provide the false alibi that he was home with her on the night of the murders, which she did the first time that she spoke to the police. While Bobby was trying to avoid arrest, Villafane helped him hide from the police in New York, and then helped him sell some drugs in western Pennsylvania. After Bobby's arrest, he admitted to a detective that he had left Pittsburgh for New York, and then West Virginia, in order to hide from the police. During this interview, Bobby repeated the false alibi given by Johnson, and made several other false statements, including that he did not know James and had met Timothy Moore only once, in a bar. He had only been to Wilkinsburg twice before, to use a car wash. He did not know anyone who owned a Hyundai Sonata. He did not use the name Bobby, and he earned a living from a laundromat and a hair salon in the Bronx. Taken together, the strong direct and circumstantial evidence overwhelmingly established Bobby and Michael's guilt on the triple murder counts. Victor Mercado, who also used the moniker Pistol Pete, was a drug dealer who sold crack and cocaine in the Bronx. Mercado also allowed Xaiver to use his apartments in the Bronx to store drugs and to cook cocaine into crack. In 1995, Xaiver and one of his partners, Yero Pak, determined that Mercado had been stealing from their stash of drugs. Xaiver left Mercado a note and some of Xavier's stored drugs that said, "You can only steal from me once." At that point, Mercado became very concerned for his safety. In retaliation for the theft of the drugs, Michael and Xaiver decided to kill Mercado. On one occasion, Michael attempted to carry out the plan by going out with a gun to kill Mercado, but Michael did not do so because Mercado was with his family. On a later night, Mercado got a coded message, which he believed was from Xaiver, on his pager. The message directed him to go to a location in the Bronx to meet. When Mercado arrived there, he was shot several times and severely wounded. Mercado believed that Xaiver shot him, but it was actually Xavier's associate, David Mullins, aka Twin. On the night Mercado was shot, Villafane picked up Michael near the scene of the shooting. Later, Michael told Villafane that Pac was supposed to have killed Mercado, but that Xaiver ended up doing the shooting. Pac later told Richie Feliciano, who was one of Xavier's primary suppliers of cocaine, that Mercado was shot because he was stealing from Pac and Xaiver. Pac's cousin, Jason Protnick, confirmed to Feliciano that Xaiver and Twin shot Mercado. January 1996, Xaiver and Michael, along with Villafane, conspired to kill Bernard Williams, aka Diamond, in the Bronx, because Xaiver had a problem with him. Villafane went to an apartment where Xaiver was cooking crack and saw two guns on a table, one of which was a machine gun with a silencer. After Xaiver tested the machine gun to make sure the silencer worked, by firing the gun out the bathroom window, Xaiver, Michael, and Villafane went to the street corner where they thought Diamond was staying. On two separate occasions, the three of them armed themselves and waited unsuccessfully for him to come out. On January 13, 1996, Villafane saw Diamond's car parked outside his purported residence. Villafane got Michael and they returned to the house in Michael's Hyundai Sonata. Eventually, Diamond and his friend Carlos Bryant came out of the house and got into Diamond's car. Michael, who was wearing all black and a hooded sweatshirt, got out of the Sonata and fired multiple shots into the front windshield of Diamond's car. Diamond, who was sitting in the driver's seat, was shot several times and seriously injured, and Bryant was shot 5 times. Michael's girlfriend, Rosie Gonzalez, was at home on the night of the shooting. Michael and Xaiver came over, and Xaiver asked Gonzalez to go to the scene of the shooting and see what had happened. When Gonzalez returned to her apartment after complying, Xaiver was cleaning a firearm. The Williamses' conspiracy to sell narcotics and their conspiracy to launder money. The evidence at trial overwhelmingly established that Bobby, Michael, and Xaiver were engaged in a large-scale drug trafficking operation in the Bronx and the western Pennsylvania area. Specifically, Bobby, Michael, and Xaiver transported kilogram quantities of crack to Pittsburgh using secret compartments in their vehicles, and distributed crack to customers in Pittsburgh and surrounding areas. They wired the proceeds back to New York using Western Union. They also laundered the proceeds by purchasing expensive cars, which they registered in the name of a leasing business.